Welcome back to the deep dive. So, last time we really got into the nuts and bolts of cryptographic algorithms, right? Symmetric, asymmetric.
Right, the building blocks. But, those algorithms need a framework to actually secure things on a network.
Exactly. So today we're shifting focus to the protocols, the rules of the road that use those algorithms. Think TLS SSL, IPsec stuff you definitely need to know for network security, especially if you're prepping for that CompTIA Security Plus exam.
That's the mission. We're looking at how crypto gets applied. Two big ones today. TLS SSL for application traffic, and then IPsec for, well, bigger network security.
Okay, let's start with the one people probably see most often, that little padlock icon next to HTTPS in your browser.
That's your visual cue for TLS, or sometimes people still say SSL. It's what keeps your browsing, your emails, your shopping carts, secure while that data's moving.
But there's a history there, right? SSL isn't really the thing anymore.
Well, yeah. SSL, Secure Sockets Layer, was the pioneer back in the 90s from Netscape. But honestly, it's full of holes now. Obsolete. Seriously outdated.
Completely. So while you might still hear SSL certificate, what's actually running underneath is TLS Transport Layer Security. That's the successor.
And it's evolved, too. We're on TLS 1.3 now, which I hear is, way faster and locks things down even tighter.
It is. TLS 1.3 really streamlined the handshake process, how the connection gets set up. It's faster, and it removed a lot of the older, weaker crypto options. Much more secure.
Okay, so TLS handles securing specific application connections, like my browser talking to a website. But what about securing more than that, like whole networks?
Right. What if you need to connect, say, a whole branch office network back to headquarters securely? Or maybe a remote worker needs their entire device connection secured, not just the browser.
That's a different ballgame.
It is. And that's where IPsec Internet Protocol Security comes in. It operates down at layer 3, the network layer.
Lower down the stack.
Yeah.
That makes sense for securing everything coming off a network or device. It's the foundation for most VPNs, right? And IPsec has two main ways it can operate. Two modes. First is transport mode.
Transport mode. Okay, what's that do?
It basically encrypts only the data part, the payload of the IP packet. The header, the addressing info, that stays visible.
So you can still see where it's going, but not what's inside. Useful for maybe end-to-end security between two specific machines?
Exactly. But if you're building that tunnel between two networks, like our branch office example, a site-to-site VPN, you'll probably use tunnel mode.
And tunnel mode sounds more comprehensive.
It is. Tunnel mode takes the entire original packet, header, and payload, encrypts the whole thing, then it wraps it all up inside a new IP header.
So it completely hides the original source and destination, everything?
Yeah.
Much more private for linking networks over the internet.
Precisely. Now, before any of that encryption happens, the two ends need to agree on how they're going to protect the data. That's where IKE comes in.
IKE Internet Key Exchange. That's the negotiation part.
Yeah, it's the setup phase. They authenticate each other, agree on the crypto keys, which specific IPsec protocols to use, which brings us to AH and ESP.
Right. The two main components doing the actual work after IKE. We've got AH, the authentication header.
AH provides integrity proof the data wasn't changed and authentication proof of where it came from, but critically, no encryption, no confidentiality.
No privacy, which seems like a pretty big limitation.
It is, and that's why ESP, the encapsulating security payload, is really the standard now. ESP gives you both authentication and encryption.
So you get the confidentiality AH lacks.
Yeah.
But wasn't there another big reason AH fell out of favor? Something about NAT.
Oh, absolutely. Network address translation. That's the killer for AH.
How so?
Well, AH includes parts of the IP header in its integrity check, but NAT devices change the IP header. That's their job. So when a packet protected by AH goes through NAT...
AH sees the changed header and thinks it's been tampered with.
Exactly. It fails the integrity check and the packet gets dropped. It just fundamentally breaks. ESP, because of how it encapsulates things, doesn't usually have that same problem with NAT.
Okay, so ESP is the practical choice for most real-world networks because it offers encryption and doesn't break with NAT.
Got it.
Now, thinking about keys, there's one more really important concept, Perfect Forward Secrecy, or PFS.
PFS, I've heard that term. It's not really a protocol itself. Is it more like a quality?
Exactly. It's a property of a key exchange mechanism. The idea is crucial. What if someone steals your long-term secret key years down the line? Does that mean they can decrypt all your past recorded conversations?
Ooh, that would be bad.
Very bad. PFS prevents that. It ensures that compromising a long-term key today doesn't compromise past session keys.
How does it manage that?
By generating new temporary throwaway keys for every single session. These are called ephemeral keys. They only exist for that one connection.
So even if I get the master key later, I can't reconstruct those old temporary session keys. That's the beauty of it. Past sessions remain secure. It limits the damage of a future key compromise.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So quick recap. We went from old, broken SSL to the modern, faster TLS 1.3 for application security. Then for network-level security, IPsec with its transport and tunnel modes. And within IPsec, ESP is king because AH breaks with NAT and lacks encryption. And finally, PFS using ephemeral keys protects our past communications.
You got it. And maybe final thought to chew on. If you take that PFS philosophy, designing for the inevitability of future compromise, making sure today's breach doesn't unlock all of history, what does that tell us about how we should design security for everything else? For data storage, for access control? How do we build systems that gracefully limit the blast radius of failure? Something to think about.